Hello, and welcome back to DFT'S Dungeon. My name is Daniel Terry, and in this video, I want to get something straight right off the bat. Some people who watched my last video on the 7 levels of Christian metal got some kind of weird impression that I was slamming Demon Hunter, but here's the thing. I don't actually hate Demon Hunter. I actually really like them.
It's not true. That's impossible!
And making that video got me thinking about Demon Hunter more than I normally would think about Demon Hunter, and then I realized that nobody else on YouTube has made a musical history of Demon Hunter video. And as of the recording of this video, there's a new Demon Hunter album coming out on Friday, September 12th. So I figured that somebody should make that Demon Hunter video. And then I thought,
not anyone in fact, but me!
But I feel like that's enough introduction. But basically in this video, I just want to briefly discuss every Demon Hunter studio album and give my thoughts and favorite songs. So if you're new here, sit back and grab yourself a cup of coffee. And speaking of coffee, let's hear a quick word from this episode's sponsor. This episode of DFT's Dungeon is brought to you by Fox & Sons Coffee. Now, I'm kind of a busy person. I'm a dad, I work a full-time job, and I make these YouTube videos whenever I get a chance. And that requires me to spend a lot of my time up late at night in front of a computer screen. And in order to make all of that work smoothly, I drink a lot of coffee. And that's where Fox & Sons Coffee has my back, with their delicious selection of whole bean or ground coffees. My personal favorite is the Den Blend Dark because it's super bold and commanding while not tasting too bitter. It's fantastic for late night editing sessions or for first thing in the morning before work. So if you're looking for some great coffee to give you that boost that you need to get through the day and you want to support a family business, check out their store at my link in the description and make sure to use coupon code DFT at checkout to receive 15% off your order of $35 or more. And with all of that out of the way, let's get into the musical evolution of Demon Hunter. Demon Hunter first burst onto the scene in 2002, and at the time, me and my friends had no idea where they even came from. There were some really vague posts on the internet and on Solid State Records' website, and I remember there were these weird band photos, and to be honest, looking at these photos now, they were clearly kind of a joke. Like, Ryan's literally wearing a shirt that says Gimmick on it. But I appreciated those pictures all the same, especially the one where he's wearing the giant Demon Hunter necklace. There was this kind of secrecy in the beginning about who the band members actually were. And eventually it was revealed that Demon Hunter was the brainchild of brothers Ryan and Don Clark, and was something of a Christian metal supergroup featuring members from various other Christian hardcore and metal bands. And the reason for this secrecy was because the band members didn't want people comparing the music from Demon Hunter to their older bands. For instance, Don and Ryan's previous band, Training for Utopia, was this like spastic and chaotic noisecore band. Which wasn't really what Demon Hunter was going for. And eventually, all of the speculation was put to rest when in October of 2002, Demon Hunter released their self-titled debut album, Demon Hunter, featuring a red cover made to look kind of like a giant book, and it even has like metal fasteners on the side, and the now iconic Demon Hunter logo of a demon skull with a bullet hole in the center of its head. And on their first album, Demon Hunter delivers a mostly fast-paced combination of nu metal and metalcore songs with 2 dark and slower-paced songs to kind of balance it out. Ryan Clark delivers intense and raw screams on this album and finds the vocal bandwidth to also provide some wonderfully sung melodic choruses. And this was a huge deal in 2002 simply because there weren't really very many, if any, Christian metal bands in the scene that sounded like this. Christian metal bands back then were mostly all heavy, like a Living Sacrifice or a Zao, or they were more hard rock, like a Skillet or 1,000 Foot Crutch. And Demon Hunter was kind of a bridge that connected those two sides of the scene. The combination of raw screams and smooth singing was a winner and actually caught people's attention. Some of my favorite songs on this album include Infected, which is kind of a blueprint song for the early Demon Hunter sound. Through the Black, because I like how they combine the screaming and the singing in the chorus. Turn Your Back and Run, which is one of the heavier songs on the album and answers the question on everyone's mind of what is Demon Hunter's favorite home video game console.
Switch! You gotta turn your back and run! Switch!
And finally, I really love the album closer, The Gauntlet. It's the second slower song on the album, but it's dark and it really fits the oppressive mood of this record. This is a dark record. And this album will always be special to me because it's the first time I ever heard the band, and there's no replacing that. But it definitely got me and my friends interested, which is why I was excited when they announced a year and a half later that they were recording a newer, darker album. Which leads us into 2004, Summer of Darkness. Summer of Darkness expands on the self-titled Demon Hunter album by doing more of everything and doing all of it better. Now, that first Demon Hunter album's always going to hold a special place in my heart, but it's hard to deny that Demon Hunter outdid themselves on Summer of Darkness. This album packs a whopping 13 songs that are all over 3 minutes long, with absolutely no intros or filler tracks. This album sounds bigger, heavier, and is packed with a bunch of goodies, like a whopping 4 guest vocalists. Mike Williams from the Agony Scene guests on Beheaded, which is one of Demon Hunter's most brutal songs and is a top 5 Demon Hunter song for me. Howard Jones from Killswitch Engage smoothly sings on Our Faces Fall Apart, where he seems to spend most of the track complaining about how cold he is. Brock Lindau of 36 Crazy Fist lends guest vocals to Beauty Through the Eyes of a Predator. And finally, Trevor McNeven from Thousand Foot Crutch on Coffin Builder. And every day I feel like this weight's constantly dragging me down. These guest vocalists bring a lot of variety to the table, and they really beef up the entire experience. And it just goes to show you how well connected in the scene that Demon Hunter already was. For the most part, Demon Hunter keeps it hard and heavy on Summer of Darkness, but they do manage to provide their first mega ballad, the song My Heartstrings Come Undone, on track 4. And it was during this album cycle that Demon Hunter really started to become iconic with their famous Demon Skull logo and the merch opportunities that came with it. And they were starting to become something of a fan favorite in the Christian metal scene. However, it was their third album that really took things to the next level. 2005, The Triptych. As if Summer of Darkness and Self-Titled weren't monumental enough releases, The Triptych shakes things up even more. On their third album, we see Demon Hunter shift into a more metalcore style band with a strong emphasis on metal riffs and lead guitar work, but paying an equal amount of attention to solid, more digestible songwriting. Sure, the songs on the previous albums were catchy and they were memorable, but on the Triptych, Demon Hunter basically figures out how to deliver world-stopping and epic choruses. For example, you'd be hard-pressed to find a better chorus than the ones found on Undying. And Deteriorate. The songwriting is tighter, and even the opening song, Not I, you can hear an interplay between harsh and clean vocals that displays a much stronger mastery of those elements than they had before. One song that I really want to highlight is 1000 Apologies, where Demon Hunter goes full on hard rock.
There you stood in disbelief, trying all you could to see.
And now you might be rolling your eyes because, like, I know, guys, it's a Demon Hunter, and we all know that they do that. But before the Triptych, this was kind of a new thing for Demon Hunter. Like, they had slower, like, ballady songs before, but this is the first time where you had a little bit more of an up-tempo song that was in the hard rock style. And I think it was this willingness to embrace elements that weren't necessarily rooted in heavy metal that gave Demon Hunter their sense of dynamics. The Triptych was the first Demon Hunter album where they sounded like Demon Hunter as we know them today. And something that I haven't really mentioned up until now is Demon Hunter's lyrics. I think the band's logo and the name doesn't really leave much room for debate on whether the band is Christian or not. However, on the first 2 Demon Hunter albums, the band's lyrics were a little bit more personal and poetic, and the meaning behind them wasn't as clear as you might think. On the Triptych, Ryan Clark's lyrics are a bit more transparent and have a clearer message overall. This was the first album where Demon Hunter fully leaned into their image as a no-compromise Christian metal band. so it didn't come as much of a shock to discover the title of their next album, 2007, Storm the Gates of Hell. It's always impressed me how Demon Hunter continually finds ways to go harder and heavier with each album, while still managing to release radio-friendly songs. It sounds impossible, but Demon Hunter has it down to a science on Storm the Gates of Hell. Objectively, this is Demon Hunter's heaviest album yet in their career. The opener, Storm the Gates of Hell, is an absolute barn burner, with no chorus, no clean vocals, just pure aggression. The song 16 incorporates orchestral elements into the band's sound and also features human T-Rex impersonator Bruce Fitzhugh from Living Sacrifice as a guest vocalist. Hearing Bruce on a song that year was kind of a big deal to me and my friends because at that time, Living Sacrifice had been broken up for about 3 to 4 years. So it was really cool hearing Bruce on a song again. Thankfully, Living Sacrifice did come back shortly after and even toured with Demon Hunter, but we can save that for another video. Songs like The Wrath of God
Another self can finally resonate.
and I Am You
Black heart in an empty shell with a desperation like waste. I am you, like page in a
keep the brutality train running on Storm the Gates of Hell. However, on the other songs, there's a lot more experimentation, like on songs like Follow the Wolves, where the chorus is actually driven by a techno beat.
run away to the blackened skies through the fear of disbelief.
The band keeps the hard rock hits coming with songs like Carry Me Down
Will you carry me down the aisle that final day?
and Thorns.
The emptiness of broken flesh, the mercy of the thorn.
This record is everything that you wanted from Demon Hunter, but with just a little bit of a heavier edge to the metal, and with even more refinement to the hard rock style. Like the Triptych before it, Storm the Gates of Hell serves as a perfect jumping on point for new fans of Demon Hunter. I used to listen to this album every single day on the way to work in my 2005 Mazda Tribute, and I thought that the band could never get any better than this, that they had basically nailed what they had set out to do. But the future of Demon Hunter wouldn't just feature nails, it would predominantly involve a thorn. 2010's The World is a Thorn. So between Storm the Gates of Hell and The World is a Thorn, Ryan Clark's brother Don Clark ended up departing from Demon Hunter so that he could focus more on his family and more on work, which I think is pretty relatable for most of us. And for Demon Hunter fans, this is the longest that we had to ever wait for a new album. However, I can confirm that The World is a Thorn was worth the wait. While I felt like Storm the Gates of Hell was absolutely peak Demon Hunter, I don't think that they could have sustained that sound forever. It was time for them to come back fresh, and they achieved this by replacing their more metalcore elements with more European metal influences. And they hammer this point home by featuring Bjorn Speed Strid of Soilwork on the song Collapsing, which to this date is probably one of the catchiest Demon Hunter songs that I've ever heard.
I'm on your blade now, I die alone.
But to keep this theme going, they also feature Christian Alvestam from Scar Symmetry on the song Just Breathe. And this is one of the freshest and most energetic songs on this album, and in Demon Hunter's career. Once again, the band manages to up the heaviness level, but still be able to balance it out with dark and emotional, slower songs like Driving Nails.
I was the light, I was the quiet heart.
And Blood and the Tears.
Blood in the tears of all my enemies.
Overall, this was an incredible return for Demon Hunter and rejuvenated my interest in the band. At that time, it was really cool hearing Demon Hunter play more technical riffs and guitar solos. By 2010, I wasn't really listening to as much metalcore anymore, and I had moved on to more extreme genres, so it was really cool feeling like Demon Hunter was growing with me. And 2 years later, they would go on to truly defy my expectations yet again. 2012, True Defiance. This album continues fleshing out the groundwork laid down in The World is a Thorn, and comes out as an even better record overall. On True Defiance, the band is still combining extreme metal elements with hard rock and radio-friendly elements, which probably sounds like oil and water, but trust me, it actually works. The song Crucifix opens up the album strong with melodic riffs, but with a bigger emphasis on speed and intensity.
I'll follow
with songs like Godforsaken, My Destiny, and Wake. The band keeps up their patented blend of memorable choruses and infectious riffs. But from a heaviness perspective, Someone to Hate is a behemoth that towers above all the rest. This is the start of there being one song on each Demon Hunter album going forward that just blows the doors off of everything else around it. To balance this out, Demon Hunter includes more melodic songs like Dead Flowers, and one of my favorite songs on the album is the closer, I Am a Stone, which is entirely orchestral, which I think makes for a really unique Demon Hunter song.
I just feel the same, immune to all.
And if you're confused, that song is only on the deluxe edition of the album, although maybe it doesn't matter because I'm still, listening to CDs, but almost everybody else probably listens on Spotify, right? Demon Hunter does it again on True Defiance and delivers an album that feels fresh but familiar. I was extremely anxious to hear what the boys were going to cook up in the next couple of years. 2014, Extremist. So in 2014, I'm just walking around trying to navigate the nightmare of my own life, and Demon Hunter just drops Extremist like it's nothing. And let me tell you, it was a huge blessing in my life. During that particular chapter in my life, I was struggling with a deep depression, and I was having trouble finding meaning in the daily grind of work, home, bed, work, home, bed, right? And I still don't think I've 100% figured that out. But during that year, Extremist filled the void with its lyrics about surviving difficult situations and realizing what your limits are. Extremist continues in a similar vein to the last two releases, but there's kind of a newer sort of energy on this album. There's a sense of playfulness in the way they structure the songs. You can hear it especially in the opening song, Death, which sort of tricks you into thinking that you're listening to some kind of basic intro track until Ryan's vocals and the rest of the band drop in and proceed to kick you repeatedly in the face. The song Death is hands down the best intro to a Demon Hunter album since Storm the Gates of Hell. Artificial Light continues that playfulness with a really unorthodox chorus and just keeps the energy high. As for the heavy songs, though, like I mentioned on the last album, there's always one song that towers over the rest, and on Extremist, that song is Cross to Bear. It is an absolute face melter through and through, and is easily a top 5 Demon Hunter song for me. True to form, this album also contains its share of radio-friendly tracks that still somehow retain their metal identity. Special shout out to the last one, Alive, for having the best lyrics ever.
Whether I'm the last one,
and is one of my favorite songs to listen to whenever I play Doom. I also really like Hell Don't Need Me. And of course, their mega hit, I Will Fail You. It's astonishing to me that this far into their career, the band is still this consistent, which means that it's time to change things up. 2017, Outlive. So, it was kind of a wait before the band would eventually deliver Outlive, and this was the first Demon Hunter album that I was kind of confused by whenever I first got my hands on it. I was expecting something more like Extremist or even The World is a Thorn, but on Outlive, Demon Hunter puts a greater emphasis on vocal melody and more classical metal-inspired riffs. Sure, there's still a couple of barn burners on this album, such as Cold Blood,
my eyes burning red, taken by disconnected loss.
And One Less.
One less dead, one less bird, one less bound, one less.
And of course, the expected heavier than every other song on the album, Jesus Wept.
Don't forget why Jesus wept.
The rest of Outlive is a little bit more melodic, though, both vocally and musically, and the production quality is top-notch, probably the best-sounding Demon Hunter album that I've ever heard. This record feels thick and is very dynamically slick, if that makes sense.
That didn't make any sense!
It feels good to listen to it. There's a lot of electronic elements woven in that add a lot more layers to the already pretty dynamic sound. Songs like Cold Winter Sun
We give way to sorrow when the sun.
and The End
One more second for the chorus cut. One more second till we
are still earworms that will stick with you for days. And while it may be a little bit of a mixed bag for fans of all heavy all the time, you know, like me, I think that it was vitally important to the band's musical evolution that they explored all possible aspects of their sound. And speaking of exploring every avenue, that leads us to 2019's War and Peace. I used to always joke that Demon Hunter could easily have been split into two bands, one brutal metal band with catchy riffs and one radio-friendly hard rock band. And on War and Peace, that is exactly what they did. War is obviously the heavier, screamier album. But don't worry, they don't fully abandon their melodic roots on War. These songs are definitely cut from the heavier side of the band, but they still feature Ryan Clark's smooth melodic singing on the choruses. Some choice cuts from War for me are The Negative,
no faith in them, no faith in us.
and Unbound.
I need no validation, self-righteous line. No one left.
And one of the coolest songs on War is a song called Lesser Gods, which is slow and kind of creepy with heavier moments kind of interspersed throughout the song. It's a really different sound for the band, and I'd love to hear more like this in the future. On the flip side is Peace, which explores the band's more melodic and hard rock sound. When this album first came out, I kind of ignored Peace and exclusively listened to War, but eventually my curiosity got the best of me, and I found songs that I really enjoyed, like the opener, More Than Bones, and the song Loneliness. But in addition to some of the songs that mostly sounded like slower, older Demon Hunter songs, there are some really cool experimental songs in there too, like When the Devil Comes,
No inception, not a sound, break or fault line.
and the piano-driven Fear Is Not My Guide, which really shows the full dynamic range of Ryan Clark's voice.
There's a cause to light my core, and when I
Dude can basically do anything at this point. Overall, I think that the double album concept was cool, and it let the band go a little bit further in both directions, with songs that probably wouldn't have made the cut on a regular Demon Hunter full-length album. 2021, Songs of Death and Resurrection. I'm not going to spend too much time on this one because it's not actually a studio album, but it's too cool not to mention it. Songs of Death and Resurrection was a live concert that featured newly arranged versions of the band's ballad songs. And I think the reimaginings mostly work great, and I'm kind of a sucker for hearing different versions of songs that I already know.
It's hard to say that I'm back on a straight line.
If you just can't get enough Demon Hunter ballads, this is the album for you. And finally, we arrive at 2022's Exile. Somewhere between War and Peace and Exile, Demon Hunter ended up parting ways with their longtime label, Solid State Records, and they created their own label called Weapons MFG, and they released Exile under that new label. Exile marks Demon Hunter's first concept album, and it features a storyline that is set in a post-apocalyptic future. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I didn't buy the deluxe edition of this album, and I didn't buy the comic book, and I haven't heard the interludes that better flesh out the story of the album. So feel free to give us a rundown in the comments below. That being said, my favorite song on Exile is easily the first one, called Defense Mechanism, which features vocals from Max Cavalera of Soulfly and Sepultura. I've always been a huge fan of Max, so hearing him trading screams with Ryan Clark was kind of surreal. I also like Freedom Is Dead, with its industrial metal influences all over it.
Whatever happened to indifference? Whatever happened to Defiance?
And Devotion, I like almost as much as Defense Mechanism. I'll have to be honest, though, a lot of the slower, more melodic songs didn't really grab me this time around. And I don't mean it as a criticism. I'm sure that if I knew the storyline to the album, these songs would have more meaning to me. And I appreciate that the band tried something new with Exile, and I think that with some refinement, I'd be open to hearing another concept record from Demon Hunter. I actually saw Demon Hunter live here in St. Louis on this album cycle, and I really enjoyed watching them swap seamlessly between these songs and the old favorites like Infected and Undying. So what does the future hold for Demon Hunter? Well, like I said 100 years ago at the start of this video, as of today's recording, there will be a new Demon Hunter album released in the next 5 days that is called 2025, There Was a Light Here. Now, I'm not cool enough to have received an advance copy of this album for review, but I have listened to the 4 songs that the band has released as singles off of it so far, and for the most part, I really enjoy them, which might be surprising considering what I've said up to this point. Like, sure, these songs are kind of upbeat. They have more clean singing. I know people like hearing more screaming from the band, but I actually really just like the pace of these songs and the vibe that they put off. My favorite, obviously, is Sorrow Light the Way. But I have no idea what direction they're going to go in for the rest of the songs on the album. I mean, for all we know, the other songs could all be brutal face melters, and the songs that we're hearing now are just the more radio-friendly songs. I don't know, but I have a feeling that the band is going to knock it out of the park as they have done throughout their entire career. It's been a really great journey watching this band grow from just a music project of 2 brothers into one of the most celebrated bands in the Christian metal scene. And while I've been harsh on the band over the years on podcasts and other videos for making musical decisions that I didn't appreciate, I think the fact that I felt so strongly about it is a testament to how important this band was to me and to the countless other fans that grew up with them. Let me know down below in the comments what your favorite Demon Hunter songs and albums are. This video idea started off as me wanting to make a Demon Hunter tier list, but ultimately I found it too hard to choose. So if that's something you guys want to see me do in the future, let me know and I'll whip something up. And I'll do it for other bands as well. Anyway, if you're still watching this video at this point, thank you so much. I sincerely appreciate you. I will see you guys on the next one. Happy hunting.